Hello, welcome to Become the Change. My name is Sandy Levesque, and this is a weekly web show which is basically designed to help you really fly free. And when I say fly free, I mean work from wherever you want to work in the world, do work that allows you to feel like you're actually making a difference and that allows you to have a level of freedom, to be like a bird that can fly where you like because your work doesn't depend on a place or a schedule, and it's you that decides what you're doing. So welcome to this week's show. I'm really excited. I just came back from the beach because I've been walking there with my dog Chico, and you've probably seen the descriptions I put out about this hangout. Basically, what you're going to get out of today is what you can do when you want to create something on the internet, but you don't want to do it all alone. You don't want to be a solopreneur, in other words, and how to use a team to support your efforts. So I'm actually going to be sharing with you what I witnessed just very recently in Portugal 2 weeks ago, where I saw online teamwork that I have never seen before. And I've been working online for nearly 2 years now, and I truly saw something so magical that it's almost hard to put it in words, but it's taken me about 2 weeks to be able to do that. I have made a blog post and video about it, but sometimes there's only so much you can share in things like that. And actually, I wanted to do this hangout to really get across to you what I witnessed. I've broken it down to 4 parts, so you're going to be able to take away how you can use what the Portuguese are doing, the kind of secrets as to why they're able to create so much duplicatable success. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that in a second. How you can apply it to what you're doing, how you can actually use it to create a sustainable income online. And yes, as you've probably seen around the page, I am going to be talking about the system that I use. So I just do want to make that transparent from the beginning. But I use it for a reason. And what I'm going to be showing you in this hangout is how you can use teamwork to help you actually utilize systems. Because sometimes, even if a system works, if you don't believe that it does for some reason, or you just can't seem to build that faith and that belief by yourself, that's really where a team can come in to help you change that by almost like osmosis. This is what I'm going to be talking about in more detail. So if you're here live, then say hello. Let me know in the comments on the page that you're watching this. If you're on Google, then go to the actual blog post. I did put that link there. There's a chat role which you can actually comment, and you can actually ask me questions as well. Happy to answer them. So welcome to the hangout, and please, just tell me if anything's not clear. I'm going to go through these points, and I know that by the end, by the time you finished watching, you're going to have a much clearer sense of why teamwork doesn't work in a lot of cases. And I'm going to be honest here, I've seen a lot of teamwork that doesn't actually create much success. So you're going to be understanding more why that hasn't worked, what has made this Portuguese example. And when I talk about a Portuguese team, I'm talking about a team of nearly 5,000 people that in the last 2 years have generated revenues altogether of just over $5 million in one single team. Now, sometimes when people throw out big numbers like that, it's hard to really put that into perspective. I'll put it this way. I've seen other teams where the figures created have been, not even $400,000 using the same system. And yet this one team is 5 million. And so I've been really thinking about this a lot. What made that difference? Why are some people really making it all come together when they work online, when they work as a team, and why other people not? Despite maybe the best intentions, but what's really going wrong and what's going right, or what's working well for the Portuguese? So let me just show you very quickly a video of what I experienced in Portugal. It's only 2 minutes. I just wanted to give you a quick glimpse of what happened. Basically, there was an event in the Algarve in the south of Portugal, and this is where this Portuguese team came together. And just to be clear, you might already be working with me or be part of the community I'm part of. If you're not and you're wondering, well, what are you talking about online? What do you do online? I do network marketing on the internet. So it's like online marketing, but it's mixed in with network marketing. So what does that actually mean? It means that instead of everyone just working on their own as independent affiliates, we are independent affiliates, but we work as teams. So we build teams and contribute to each other that way. And what I saw in Portugal was I went to one team's event just for them, and they're part of a huge team, a huge community of over 150,000 affiliates. And their one team is of 5,000. It started in Portugal with one man and 3 of his closest friends in the industry. And basically they had almost like a week-long event. I was there for 2.5 days, and I spoke to a lot of people, a lot of leaders. I really got an insider view into how they structure what they do, what's made it work, and the level of success I saw was just absolutely mind-blowing. Just to give you an example so that you can really understand why it's worth listening to what I'm about to share here. I saw a man who had over 13 people making $10,000 a month or more in his downline. So what does that mean? That means he had in his direct team, that's people that he has brought into his team, he had 5 people making over $10,000 a month. And then in his non-direct, so i.e. the people that they brought in his overall team, he had 13 people. And I have never, ever seen anything like that, because normally in what I do, and perhaps what you're doing as well, if you're already a member of our community, you know, usually you see leaders and there's perhaps 1 or 2 people in their team that are doing well. And that's usually about it. I've really rarely seen a team where there's several people. And what I had noticed with this Portuguese team was that week in, week out, they had different names, not just the same ones, different names on the leaderboards for our company in the top 10 affiliates. And so, you know, everyone started to notice this. And what also happened was I saw them, they did a contest for the top 20 affiliates within their team for a specific contest that they had put together. And the people that got up on the stage to accept their certificates were people of all ages, all kinds of backgrounds, you know, people that used to work in call centers, teachers, butchers, you know, people that were training to be lawyers, people that had done some online marketing as well, but people who'd never done any online marketing, a lot of people who didn't even speak English as their first language. And if you know anything about online marketing, you'll know it's a very English-based industry. You know, it's everything is mainly in English. And so it was just totally mind-blowing. And then they had a check ceremony where they give the checks to the highest earners in their teams. And there were so many people on the stage in this one team, and the checks went from, you know, there's people obviously who've made money from $25 upwards, but they weren't giving checks for $25. And because I'm talking about money, I should say there's an income disclaimer at the bottom of this page. So please look at that if you are wondering, well, does this mean that everyone she's talking about, that if I do what she does, I'm going to make $10,000 a month? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just giving an example of what is possible with the system that I personally use that's allowed me to be traveling now for well over 12 months and creating a sustainable income online. So there is an income disclosure below. Incomes are not typical. And what I want to share with you throughout this Hangout is how to not be typical, how to be one of those people that doesn't have mediocre results, that has really outstanding results. And so this team, they had people on stage with checks from about $40,000, and I'm talking about total earnings here. Some of them had started 4 months ago, some of them, you know, a year ago, some of them 6 months. I think the longest has been 19 months, up until just over 600,000. And there were so many people that were over 100,000 that it was truly amazing, because, you know, you might have been to events if you've already been doing what we do. If you've already done some network marketing or network marketing online, you might have been to events and you've seen lots of people get up on stage with big checks, and it's all very cool. But I had a really different breakthrough with this situation, because what was going on here was that it was all from one team. It wasn't just lots of different leaders from different teams. This was all within one single team. everyone knew each other. Everyone was linked to each other because they all came from one sponsor. So let me just show you the video I mentioned just now, and you'll actually see clips of those that ceremony of the checks on stage. So I'm just going to make sure I've got the page ready, and I'll show you, what it was like to be there in the best way I can, which is, through a blog, because then through a blog you actually get to see a little, it takes you there as if you were there in the moment. So let me just do that. And let's go. Okay, so here's the video. Oh.
My name is Amaya. I'm from Portugal, and I'm here with Sandy. And lazy Ryan watching. I really recommend coming to a live event if this is what you want to do.
Okay. Okay, hopefully you can see that video. I think it worked, but now I'm not so sure because suddenly it didn't ask me to stop sharing. So I really hope you could. I'll post the link in the comments, so just in case it didn't work. And there's also, that video is actually on my blog on the very same website you're watching this. It's called a Soul Changing Event. So, I really hope you could see that and you weren't just watching me watch the video, which would have been really boring. Sorry, guys. So okay, so let's get down to it. There was 4 main things that I've picked out after giving this a lot of thought. And I mean a lot of thought. I've literally been sat on the beach, watching the ocean, asking the stars, asking the universe, infinite intelligence, to help me recreate something that like what I saw. And in fact, that was the last question of the whole event was from me, because they did a Q&A, and I was the last person to be to ask a question. And I asked them, I've seen a lot of teamwork. I've been doing this now for nearly 2 years. I've never seen anything like what I've experienced this past 2.5 days. What's your best advice for someone who wants to create this, create something like it? And they said, the founder of that team, Silvio, he said to me, first of all, the grass always seems greener on the other side. So he was saying to me, you know, yeah, we look like we are having a lot of success, we're having a lot of fun, it's working really well, but you know, it's not like completely perfect, and your team is probably great as well. And then what he said was, but what you have to do is, if you're not happy in the environment you're in, you need to dance naked on the beach and dance and be happy with, create an environment where you are happy. And when you're happy, you'll be that person that's dancing on the beach naked, and you'll find another person that wants to come and dance naked on the beach as well. And then another person, and then another person. And just remembering it is making me teary-eyed because he then got teary-eyed as he pointed out the people in his team who had danced naked on the beach with him. You know, obviously, hopefully you got that was a metaphor. They weren't actually dancing naked on the beach, but he had 2 or 3 of his close associates, friends, who believed in his vision, believed that he could make a team work, and believed that it would work for others as well, not just him. And I'm going to get into that in more detail in a second. And he said, you know, and you have to take away from him the fact that you've seen this, so it's possible. That means it's possible for you. So for you watching, it's possible for you to create this, or to be part of what I'm creating. I'm going to share with you how you can do that. But I'm first of all just going to get into the 4 main things that I believe are critical to why this team is literally creating a success story like you probably have never seen before. You know, maybe you're already part of our community and you have seen what I'm talking about. And you know, and if you've seen other examples, I'm not saying that no other teams have any success, but what I am saying is that this team, it just has success on a whole new level. I mean, when you see someone stand up and he has 13 people in his team making over $10,000 a month in income, that is pretty special. You know, that's something a lot of leaders would dream about. So why are they able to do that? Well, the first thing I noticed, and I noticed this immediately in everyone I spoke to, and again, I spoke to many of the team's leaders. I got really precise details on what they do, on what the kind of the mindset is, the way that new people coming into the team are treated, the way that people work together. And the first thing I noticed was an expectation of success. So if you're taking notes, you might want to write that one down. It sounds obvious, but they really do believe that if you're joining their team, you're going to have success. And why do they do that? Well, for a fact, they are having success. So now, you know, it's because that's just the way that they work. But in the beginning, when there was just 4 of them, they didn't have 13 people making over 10K a month in their team to say, look, this works. This is what you need to do. It's going to work for you. They couldn't do that, you know. They talked about this at the event. They said, well, the founder in particular, he said, I had to believe it was possible for people to make $1,000 a day. And people laughed at me when I said this, but someone had to believe it. Someone had to go first, and I was willing to believe. And I believed that people coming into my team could make $1,000 a day. And so that's what they set out to do. So they expect that if you come into their team and you follow the instructions and you treat it like a business, what I noticed was they use the language, learn a new profession, become a professional internet marketer. They weren't, you know, this was a running theme throughout everything they were doing, is learn a new profession, become a professional internet marketer. And so they weren't kind of just seeing it as like, you know, some people, let's be honest, when they start something on the internet, they hope it's going to be like a get-rich-quick scheme, or they hope that secretly they won't have to really do anything, you know, or that it will just be really easy, and all they have to do is like half an hour every day. And some people don't even do stuff every day, and that miraculously they're going to start making 5 figures a month. And this team are very honest. They say, you know, that you need to do specific things. It's like a franchise. You need to invest in certain things, but then you can expect this to happen. And it reminded me of how McDonald's franchises work, because if you know anything about franchises, basically what happens is someone has created a model, a business model, which works very well, and they sell that model to other people who want to recreate it in other locations. So McDonald's is run through franchises, Starbucks as well, I think. But McDonald's is a really famous example. There's lots of other ones, but you probably won't have heard of them. And what happens with McDonald's is that obviously McDonald's sells, you know, like burgers, fries, the whole deal. People want it, fast food. So when you buy a McDonald's franchise, you know that you're buying the name, you're buying the products, and you're buying the whole system, which makes money. And so people spend sometimes, I think around well over, for a fact, well over $300,000, probably more, to have the McDonald's name, to be able to set up the franchise, to get all the things they need, to get everything in place. And that is essentially what's going on with this Portuguese team. They say, look, we have the products, you know, we have the burgers and the fast food, the French fries. We have the name, the system, and this is how you run the business. And if you do it as we say, you're going to make money, and aim for making $1,000 a day. And they tell everyone this. And you might be thinking, okay, yes, Andy, that's great. They've got targets, but you know, everyone tells their team to have targets. What's the difference here? Well, here they really believe it, you know, and I've thought about this a lot. And I had this big realization, which might be a bit controversial, but what I realized is that a huge difference, you know, because a team starts with the energy at the top. The people that create something, their energy filters out through the entire organization with anything, you know, whatever industry you're in. You know, this politics is the same thing. It comes from the leader. And what I've noticed happens a lot in the industry of network marketing, of online marketing, is often, and I'm not saying this as a criticism, I think this comes from the fact that a lot of people start from a place of, you know, they're in a difficult situation and they need to get out of it. So for a lot of people, their main priority is getting people to join something, is recruiting people, is sponsoring people into their team. So building people into the team. And then that's it. That's literally like where the main thrust of their energy is going. And I really looked at this on an energetic level, because a lot of people will say, no, I care about people, I want to help people. But actually, when you really look at what's going on, I believe, and this is just my belief or my awareness, for a lot of people, their main priority is just to sell stuff, and that they want people to join. And then if people join and use the stuff they sell, then that's great. If they don't, that's fine. But you know, the main priority is to get people in, as people say, you know. And you might be thinking, well, obviously you need to do that. You need to recruit, you need to be selling. But what I noticed was very different with the leadership of this team is they want the people that buy what they're selling, they want them to be good at it. They want the team to make money. And what the founder of this said, he said, by now he's been in network marketing for a while, and he said, I work really hard. I know I can probably create success in anything that I join. And because I've been doing this for a while, but I wanted to do something where my team would make money. And he talked about this so much, you know, and the thing is, you have to follow your intuition. I noticed when he was talking about this, he wasn't saying it in a, I'm just saying it to sound nice kind of way. He genuinely meant it. Like, you really get the sense he was sick of just seeing people failing around him. And he wanted to create an environment where there were lots of leaders, and where, you know, the thing I loved at this event was there was generations of leaders. You know, I met a lady, a friend of mine now, who was sponsored by two young people, a young couple, who was sponsored by a slightly older couple who, you know, in their late 30s. And they're all making $30,000 a month or more, which is $1,000 a day. I even sat near them on an airplane just 2 or 3 months ago. And it's just fascinating to think that this team tells people aim to make $1,000 a day, and they have leader after leader that's making that. Does that mean that every single person in that 5,000 strong team is making $1,000 a day? No, they're not. But what I saw was a much larger number of people making good money, and I mean over 10,000 a month. For me, really is what I consider to be a great income online. You know, there were so many more, you know, literally like dozens and dozens and dozens within one single team, not just a couple of people, which is what you usually see. So they have this expectation of success that if you join the team, you follow the system, you buy the system, that you're going to make that money. And if you don't, then you're either not following the system properly, you either just don't believe you can, you need to do more work on your wealth consciousness, or you are doing lots of different things at once. You know, there's this real kind of trust and faith in the system. So that's the first thing that I really noticed. And it also having that energy of genuinely wanting the whole team to be making money. You know, there was this brilliant moment. Oh, and I'm just going to, excuse me, have some water there for a second. There was this just brilliant moment. They were going through a session on how to get people in that expectation of success. You know, they didn't call it that. That's basically what they were doing. And they were asking people, you know, what was the worst moment of your life? And this is one leader in particular, he was doing this. He said that with people that start with him, he asked them, think to one of the worst times in your whole life. And he says to people, you know, if you need to cry or let go of some emotion, then do that. But just think about that moment. And you could feel the energy in the room as people were like going there to that place of, you know, the roughest moment you've ever had. And maybe you might want to do that now. And then he asked them, now think about your target and how you'll feel when you've done it. Really tap into that energy. Really get the sense of it, you know, really vividly picture it. And I don't think it's just picturing. I actually believe that, you know, if you understand quantum physics, you understand that time doesn't really exist. You know, all time happens at the same time. So when you picture something, you're not just creating a picture in your mind, you're actually going to that reality or that moment, wherever it is in the future. And it doesn't mean it has to actually become a reality, but it's a possibility. You know, it's there in the future. It can happen. So what he was asking them to do is go to that moment in time when you'll have succeeded and get that energy, how you'll feel. And then he asks people, okay, now you've got to remember what you want all the time. You've got to be thinking about that feeling, that second feeling, so that you can get as far away from that first feeling as possible. And he really makes people aware of why they're doing something. So it's not just, oh yeah, I want to make 10K a month, or I want to make 1K a day. It's, I never want to not be able to feed my child, or I never want to have to buy my daughter boy shoes because I can't afford the girl's shoes and her size. You know, I know people that have been in that situation. I never want to have to sleep in a toilet because I can't afford anywhere to stay. You know, I know people who've lived that too. And so he makes them feel that. And he asked someone in the audience, I'm going somewhere with this, you're going to be mind blown when I tell you the story. He asked someone in the audience that's on his team that's making over 30,000 a month. He said to them, okay, when I did this with you, when you started, before they were making that money, what did you want? What was the thing that you really wanted to create? And for that guy, it was a Ferrari, some kind of Ferrari, I think a yellow one for some reason. And the guy doing the workshop said, okay, so how much is that Ferrari? And it was 240,000 euros, probably about $350,000 if you're in America or Canada. And he said to him, okay, so when are you going to get that by? And the guy responded, by December 2015. At which point Marco, the leader, the other leader, workshop leader, said, well, hang on a minute. When we did this in your coaching session, you told me December 2014. Why did you change it by a whole year? And the other guy, like, he got this sheepish expression on his face, like, oh yeah, you're right, I did change it. And he's like, why did you? And he's like, well, I guess it seems too close. You know, I'm making good money, but I'm not going to have 240,000. And Marco, the leader, said to him, whoa, stop right there. You know, you've just decided that you can't make that money. But what if you can? And then he said, and this is the really amazing part, he pointed to a guy sitting on the same row, and they're the front row of this event, the leaders. But I want you just to bear in mind that the guy that wants a Ferrari, he's not some hotshot internet marketer, been doing this for 5 years. He is a guy, he's actually Spanish, who started internet marketing about a year ago and has started having really great success with his girlfriend. He's about, I think, 25. You know, he's not an expert in this, but he's just been following the system, following what they do, and using the other steps I'm going to go through with you before we finish this hangout. So just to put that in perspective, you know, this is a young guy, a young ordinary guy, you know, making 30,000 a month. So Marco says to him, okay, why did you decide you can't make it in this year? Why can you, what if you could just suddenly make twice your income for the next 4 months and be able to buy that car? And so he pointed to another leader who's slightly older, has been doing this for a bit longer, and said to him, how much did you make last month? And this guy responded, $120,000. This was for July he made. I don't think it was September. I think he said in July I made 100, oh no, maybe it was. It doesn't matter. Anyway, $120,000 was what he responded. Again, income is not typical. Check the disclosure at the bottom of this page. And so Marco turned around to the first guy. He's called Alejandro. He says to Alejandro, so you just saw Marco, Pedro is making, I don't know, Pedro is making 100, I'm just sorry, I just got confused there with the names. There are so many new names. It doesn't really matter. The 125,000 guy, he says, you know, that guy is making 120K. Why can you not make that too? You know, he's in the team. If you made that twice, you'd be able to buy your car in 2 months. And, you know, he's not saying that's exactly going to happen in the next 24 hours, but obviously it's possible because a guy sitting just a few seats away from him is making 120K a month. And maybe he doesn't make that every month, but he's making that, you know, and I know who he is. He's made over $500,000 now in the last year and a half. And so he was basically getting Alejandro, the Ferrari guy, to stretch his mind, to stretch his perception, and to stretch his awareness of what's actually possible. Because think about it, in Spain, the average salary is 800 euros a month. 800 euros a month. That's about $1,200 a month. So imagine being surrounded by a ton of people that are scraping by on $1,200 $1,200 a month, and you have someone sitting next to you that's making $120,000 in a month. You know, you might not necessarily be able to go from A to B straight away, but what if you can? And what was so powerful in this moment was the energy that was going on. But, you know, the words are one thing, but the energy was so incredible because you could really sense the Ferrari guy having this kind of reality bending moment, I call it, where suddenly it's like everything goes because what you thought was real suddenly appears not to be real anymore. You know, he thought it was really hard to make over $100,000 in a month and virtually impossible. And then suddenly he finds out he's sitting 5 seats away from a guy that's doing that. And again, this other guy, not a massive internet marketer, not a famous household name. He's just a guy that has mastered internet marketing, Facebook advertising, going to get into that too, and has managed to create a really successful team. So has made a big income. So Alejandro in that moment, it's like what he thought was impossible, buying that Ferrari by the end of this year, suddenly it became possible. And, you know, you might be thinking, well, yes, Andy, I don't care about Ferraris. I don't want to do that. I just want to have a nice home, travel when I want, be able to take care of my family, et cetera, et cetera. And that's fine. You know, I'm not exactly a Ferrari girl either. But what was just so incredible was to see that, you know, to have someone have to recognize in public that he had diminished his goals because he didn't think they were possible, even though he's getting great results. And to be shown in his face that it is possible by someone sitting 5 seats away in the same team. So he had to commit to his sponsor, who was leading the workshop, that he would change his target back to 2014 and get his ass in gear to make that happen. So, you know, this is the expectation of success that I'm talking about, and truly desiring that the people you bring in have that success. So you might be thinking, yeah, okay, well, I do want people that join me to have success, and I'm not just wanting to sell them a bunch of stuff and not really care what happens after that point. But how do I do it? How are the Portuguese doing it? That's the second point. So the second thing they do, and this is the other thing, you know, you want to write this down too, is they have a very clear, simple, I'm going to say that again, simple game plan that they give everyone. And when I say game plan, they actually give this game plan to everybody. And they don't hold it back. You know, I've seen them share this in Hangouts, which weren't just for their team. And basically they tell people, and I'm going to share it with you right now. So you're going to get the same game plan, which has created 10,000 a month earners, 30,000 a month earners, $500,000 in 2 years earners. Their game plan is A, get over 200 leads. We'll get 200 leads a day. If you don't know what a lead is and you're new to internet marketing, it's basically someone who subscribes to your email list because you have some way that you can help them and they want your help. So you put an ad out there or some kind of information telling people how you can help them, and this person says, oh, I need that, and puts their email in to get something. You know, it could be a video, it could be more information about what you do, training, could be your book, you know, whatever it is. So get 200 leads a day. Then the second thing, email those people every day, send an email broadcast using an email service provider. The third thing, answer any questions that those people have. You know, maybe they email you back, maybe they contact you on Facebook, maybe they leave you a comment on your posts, but be, you know, in connection with people, respond to those questions. The fourth thing, do a hangout for the team that you're building, and then that's it. That's literally it. And they obviously plug people into their team-wide system, and I'm going to get a bit more into that too. And so they have this game plan, and what they do is they have weekly training for people that have certain courses, because with the system that we use, the main product is a viral blogging system, and then there are courses which teach you online marketing. So they don't work very much with people that just buy the blog. Their focus is really, okay, you want to be an online marketer, you need to know what you're doing. You need to have the courses. So they tell people to go all in, as some people call it in our community, or a lot of people, to get the core products, the core courses. And then what they do is they do training every week to help people actually go into those courses and apply what is in there. And I thought that was really brilliant, because sometimes what happens is people buy a lot of courses and they just kind of never really go in. And I've actually done this. Not very much, to be honest. I tend to like getting into something when I buy it. But sometimes it's possible, you know, you can get into overwhelm. And so they do a training with people that are have bought a certain number of courses every week, and it's not the same person doing it. They get different leaders within the team to give that training on specific modules, specific aspects, or things that they're doing that are having success for them. So they do that. And then they have Skype groups where people can answer questions if they're, depending on which courses they have, you know, how basically, it's like a university, how much they've learned. So they have a basic group, then they have an intermediate group, and then an advanced group. So the cool thing about that is that if you have questions, you can ask in that Skype group and anyone from the team will answer you. It doesn't have to just be your sponsor or people that you're directly connected to. And what that does is that creates a kind of family atmosphere. And a lot of people that I spoke to there talked to me about, well, you know, for us, it's like a family. Our team is like a family because we know everyone, you know, we do lots of things where it's the whole team. It's not just our, you know, micro team. It's everyone. And people can have connection and chats with anyone across the team, you know. So that is also quite unique, because often what happens in other teams I've noticed is people tend to be left to fend for themselves, which is not, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, and that can actually work as well, because sometimes if you babysit people too much or try and do everything for them. It's actually disempowering. But what I loved with this team is they have a mix between, they don't disempower people by doing everything for them. You know, there's a lot of emphasis on you have to follow these steps, you have to take this action to become a leader. But they have resources there in case you have questions or you come up against roadblocks. And what they do is they work one-on-one with the people that are really committed, that have got all the courses, that are really treating this as a profession, that want to learn the profession of internet marketing. And they work with them. They see, okay, how are your ads doing? How are your blog posts doing? How is this doing? How are your videos doing? How many viewers are you getting? And they work with them more individually. So they have this kind of intermediate training, then one-on-one for the advanced people, and this sort of big sea of questions and contribution that people can ask for the basic people, people that are just started, maybe haven't got to the advanced or the intermediate yet. And so what that does is it creates this kind of group energy where people are chatting, talking to each other, helping each other out. And that is really noticeable, because a lot of teams don't seem to really do that. You know, they have Facebook groups, but there's not a massive amount of genuine interaction in them. So that was another thing that I noticed, which is part of that game plan. So just to recap, the game plan is they get 200 leads a day, they email those leads every day, and you answer questions that those people have. Then they do a weekly hangout for their team, and they plug people into the team system. So that's the game plan. So you just got a, I hope you wrote those things down, because, they will really help you if you do them. And I have some extra information about how they're doing those different bits, because you might be thinking, well, yeah, okay, 200 leads a day. You don't just like click your fingers and get 200 leads a day. How are they doing that? That's stuff I'm going to be sharing with my team, with people that are part of my team that are, wanting to learn the profession of internet marketing. So if that's you, then, you're going to be getting this information. If you don't have it, if you're not part of what I'm doing, if you're not part of my team and you want to be, there's a button below this video. Click on that after the hangout, or you can start doing it right now if you want. And you can actually join my team and start to be part of the new team that I'm creating. So that was the second thing. The third thing that they do is they have fun. And you might think, oh, okay, whatever, that's just a fluffy, fluffy thing, not really that important, which is actually, to be honest, what I have sometimes thought myself. But when I asked them, they repeatedly told me this is actually a really important piece of the puzzle. Because what they do is they make sure that on a really regular basis, everyone in the team has the opportunity to come together, not just online. I'm talking about like physical events. They go around for dinner at people's houses. They do training days in bull fighting rings. I'm not really into bullfighting myself, but they've hired them before to do meetings there. They have boat trips. They go on they have barbecues. And at this event that I was at, there was a lot of people there, nearly 1,000 people. And they had a huge group dinner. You had to pay, obviously. It wasn't a free dinner, but it was very reasonable. And everyone was there. It was like a massive buffet. They were partying. And everyone was having fun together. And they make it a really big part of what they do, is that as much as they can, they find opportunities to come together in a physical way. That makes it sound like they're making love or something. That's not what I mean. I mean like, because we're working online, but they have hangouts, which a lot of teams do. Now, that's nothing unique. But what I think is a little bit unique with this team, which is part of the reason why they are having such a different kind of success that I've seen very few of my North American colleagues having, to be honest. Sorry if you're from North America. I'm not saying this is like a country thing. I genuinely believe this is possible to recreate whichever country you're from. And in fact, there are teams that are from North America that have got something similar to this going on. And for them too, I've noticed that coming together is a really important part of what they do. Even if it's just every 3 months, like a chance to have fun, to bond, where it's not just training, where you're having dinner, or you're going to a theme park, or you're having a party, you know, stuff that gives people the chance to be friends as well as business partners. And they kept talking about that, you know, and they say that one of the ways they encourage people to come to live events is by saying, look, we're going to have fun. We're going to all wear t-shirts so that it's clear that we're part of the same team. We're going to bring a Portuguese flag. But now, you know, the team is spreading. It's not just Portugal. They have a huge Spanish team. They now have Brazilians and South Americans from other South American countries coming to the events. There were some Brazilians in Portugal at this event I was at. So, you know, the vision has spread. So, but fun is a really important part of it. So, you know, if you have your own team or if you want to create your own team, then really look at that. You know, how can I incorporate more fun into what I'm doing? More opportunities for people to come together offline as well as online so that they can actually have fun, you know. And so I thought that was really cool. And I really am going to be incorporating more of that into what I'm doing as well. So that was the third thing. And we're coming up to time here, so I'm going to start speeding up a bit. But the fourth thing is something you might not be expecting. You might have seen me talking about this, so it might not be completely new, but I am pretty sure it is going to be quite new. And this is social work, you know, and don't, you know, don't check out right now and think, oh my God, no, they're like missionaries or something. So sometimes social work can have these weird connotations to it. But just to give you some context, I arrived at this event after it had started, and they were just starting a session where they were showing the social work that they do as a team. And I thought, okay, this will be an hour, maybe half an hour. It went on for 3 hours. They had teenagers there dancing on the stage. They showed videos of trips that some of them had taken to Benin in Africa to visit an orphanage that they were collecting sponsorship for. And they, you know, I literally was crying, and people all around me had tears running down their faces, were hugging each other, because so much of the team's spirit is actually is linked to this. So what do they do? Well, they actually have a member of their team, a leader, who's responsible for organizing social work. So what he does is him and his wife find projects that the team can rally around. So they've been building houses in Lisbon, here in Portugal, which is the capital city, with an association, like a charity. And they get together weekends. They showed video clips of that. They've been giving money to youth organizations. So this is not money they collect. They just say, look, we want to support this as a team. Who wants to donate money? So it's like, you know, they just collect the money from people that want to give it. It's not an obligation. No one has to. And what was a really beautiful moment was that one of the men in the team, he had been giving money every month for many years, since 2008, to an orphanage in Benin, the one I was just mentioning. And he actually told this couple about the orphanage and said, look, if you're looking for a project, why not give money to this orphanage? They could really do with it. I think it would be an awesome project. And so that's what they did. And they actually visited it, and they showed a video with 4 of the guys that had been there, and it was amazing. I actually, you might have seen it in that video I showed at the beginning. There's clips in there of it. And these 4 grown men were crying on this video because they were so touched. Oh God, it's going to bring the tears back, sorry. They were so touched by what they saw in this orphanage, by the good spirits and the smiles and the work the people were doing with these young people. And that were from, you know, some of the babies were 2 weeks old, and there were 17, 18-year-olds there. Have obviously got no parents and were living on the streets until they came to this center. And so what they did at this event was they said, look, they showed this video. They showed also clips with every child basically said hello to the camera, and then there was information about them, their story, whether their parents are alive, how long they've been on the streets, how long they've been at the center, whether they were adoptable or not. And there was about 25 children, young people, and the video was really moving. And then they said, look, we've created this form. Who would like to donate money on a yearly basis to the orphanage and to sponsor a child? And it was amazing, because about 300 people got up on the stage. You know, that sounds like a crazy number. It's true. You know, you can see the video. a massive amount of people got up on the stage and said, yes, I want to donate money. It was just incredible. And then what was even more touching was that the man who had been supporting them since 2008, the first guy, he was crying, and he broke down. And it's really it's gonna make me cry to talk about it again. Just I was sitting right at the front, so I saw it with my own eyes. You know, he got down to his knees, to the floor rather, and he said, "Look, I've been supporting this orphanage on my own since 2008, and to see so many of you help me support it is just, I thank God. I am so happy." And I'm sorry that I'm crying. It's just, it was such a strong moment that it's making me emotional just remembering it. And so, you know, this was a really touching thing. And when I was asking them, you know, why do you think you have so much success on your team to a level that just doesn't really happen that often in normal teams? One of the things they said was, we do this social work because we want to make a difference, and also because it makes our team stronger, because it brings us together in a different way from the having fun, from the training. It makes us come together as people, as our hearts, and they meant it, you know. So I think that was just beautiful. So I think that's a really strong lesson, you know, whatever you're doing. Sometimes, you know, I thought about this as well, and sometimes people, and I used to actually work in the not-for-profit sector for 10 years, and I'm well aware of, you know, some of the arguments people have about, you know, when people use charity or charity work to look good, you know, CSR, corporate social responsibility. There was at one point, a lot of corporations that were giving money to charity to kind of make their PR look better. And what you have to understand is that with this team, it really was not that. It was something really different. It was a genuine desire to do something with the money they were making, because they're making a lot of money, a lot of people in this team, and to do something special together, because they were creating money, because they were working all the time as a part of a team. What else can we do? What else can we create? And how can we give something to other people? You know, it really came from that energy, very different energy. And you can sense that in everything they were saying, the energy of the people leading it, the energy of the work they're doing, the way that people went up on that stage, you know, and signed a form saying, yes, I'm going to give money. It was really just quite amazing. So that was the fourth part of it, was social actions or social work. I think social actions probably sounds a little less left-wing, but that was a really big part of that is a really big part of why their team is having this kind of success. So just to recap the four things that I went through for you, the first thing was they have this expectation of success, that every person coming in, they operate it like a franchise, they're learning a profession of internet marketing, and you will have success if you follow these steps. The second thing, they give people a game plan, clear set of steps to follow to have success. And it's very simple, not something that takes the whole day or that takes you know, decades of training. It's something that really everyone can do. The third thing was they make sure that they come together and that they have fun offline as well as online. And the fourth thing is they do something really different. They do social actions to do something else with the energy that they're creating as a group of people. So that's the main thing that is creating this above average team with crazy duplication, crazy levels of success, crazy levels of fun, making a real difference. And so what I am creating now, you know, and I said before that you can become part of what I'm doing. If you want to be creating a sustainable income online, you haven't been able to do it till now, or you know, you've been thinking about it, but you haven't actually started it yet, or you've been waiting for the right time, now is the time. Now is really the time to actually just start. You know, that there is never the perfect time, but I am telling you, with what I have seen, what I have really thought about, and what I am putting together, I am creating a team or an energy in my team which is going to be the same as this energy. You know, it's not going to be a carbon copy, but I am taking what I saw, what I learned, what they shared with me, and using it to create an English-speaking team which has the same expectation of success, which gives its members a clear game plan to follow, which comes together for really fun offline events, and which can use the resources, the time, the money that we're creating to actually pay it forward, to make a difference, to do something with it in a group way, you know, where you don't have to just do it with the team, but where you can if you want. And my vision really is to be able to put my hand up at an event when I'm asked and say, okay, Sandy, how many people do you have in your downline, in your team, making over $10,000 a month? I want to be able to turn around and say, I have over 10 people making $10,000 a month. So if you want to be one of those 10 people, then click on the button below this video to join the team and to become part of it, because you will really be part of a team culture which encourages you to have that success, which expects you to have that success, and which has the resources to help you do that. So, you know, this isn't something where you just do, you know, it's going to take 2 weeks and woo, you're going to be making crazy money. But what I am saying to people joining and people who've already joined is, you know, I used to say to people, give it time. It could take 2 years to create success. But what I've realized is that's actually holding people back. And what I saw in Portugal was that people were creating success within 3 months, within their first 90 days, and that it's easier to create success quickly than to create it slowly. So you need to be ready to do things you've never done before, to learn new things, to learn what you need to learn, to really learn the profession of internet marketing, and to be able to create success in the next 3 months, you know, to have that frame of mind that this is happening, this is what I'm creating, I am going to be a leader in Sandy's team, I am going to be one of those people giving trainings, I am going to be one of those people she's bringing up on the stage with her at the events where she's recognized for having a crazily successful team. If that's going to be you, and I know in the depths of my soul and my being, my heart, that you can, if you want to, then click on the button below this video. And if you have any questions about it, you know that you can, but you just still want to ask something about it, or you're not sure, then there's also an FAQ page you can go and have a look at. You can get in touch with me, contact me on Skype or Facebook, and I can chat with you as well. But I know that sometimes you need to be a visionary in life, and you need to see what is possible. You need to see where you can go, and you need to know that if you hold that clear, that you can get there. So if that is you, then you know what you need to do. Just click on the button below this video, and you might be thinking, well, Sandy, you know, you haven't created $30,000 a month. You know, my biggest month so far has been $5,047 in a single month. And I'll be honest and I'll say, yes, that's true. I haven't created $30,000 in a month yet, but I will. Mark my words that I will. My target is to create $1,000 a day and to have a team of people around me creating that as well. And you can mark my words that when I set out to do something, I do it. It was the same energy that helped me change British law when I was a campaigner with nothing more than a laptop and a bicycle and a close group of women that were determined as hell to get what we wanted. And we negotiated with the British Prime Minister. We got on national news. We campaigned around the country. This is Britain I'm talking about. And we changed the law. And sometimes you have to see where you're going and just run for it. So that's what I'm doing. If you want to run with me, then you know what you need to do. Click on the link below this video. Thank you so much for being here, for watching this Hangout, for sharing in this energy and this experience of the Portuguese magic with me. I'm honored to have had you here. I'm honored to have been there and to have seen it. And I'm excited about what's possible and what's possible for every single person that decides to take action, to click on the button, to become part of the team, and to start to become a leader today. I'll see you very soon. This has been Sandy Levesque.